All right. Are you good to go?
Great.
Excellent. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk to Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle C. Baker. And before we start today's episode, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to whichever channel you're watching or listening from. And today we have a really interesting topic and an amazing guest, a great person, and I'm really excited to have her on. We're going to be talking about the struggles of infertility, and our today's guest is amazing. She does great work with women on these struggles, and if you've gone through it, or if you know somebody who's gone through it, you know that it can be difficult. And our amazing guest today, Dr. Karen Stillman, has great programs, and I just love the way that she approaches it. So I thought it would be great to have her on. So thank you so much, Karen, for agreeing to come on today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Danielle.
Thanks. And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
Certainly. I started, I guess, I was in my residency training program and I was struggling to get pregnant. We'd been married for a year and a half and decided that we weren't going to wait to have babies because I knew I had only one fallopian tube. And the doctor had said to me in grade 8 when I had the normal appendix removed with the dying necrotic, he described it. So it was a dead decaying fallopian tube, what was causing my acute appendicitis episode. And he said to me at the 6-week checkup that, actually he spoke to mom. He never spoke to me. He looked at my mom and said, she's going to struggle to get pregnant. So that was in the back of my mind. So when I, met Mr. Wright and decided we were going to, do the babies and got married and then started. There was a year and a half of just struggle after struggle. Nothing was working. I am in, at this point, the obstetrics and gynecology residency program at the medical school. And so access to everything. And I'm having blood tests and scans and doing this and doing that investigation. After this year and a half, I feel like a pincushion. So I'm just miserable. It got to the point where my husband and I started fighting all the time. And it's like, oh my gosh, we've been married only a year and a half, together a year before that. Like, what's going on? And so I was feeling quite hopeless, really, really hopeless. Because I previously had excelled at, school and every, academic and other actions, adventures, things that I had focused on, athletics outside, extracurricular. And it's just like, I'm a failure. I really felt like a failure. And this is one thing that women are supposed to do and be able to do. And why can't I? Why not me? So I was feeling quite devastated, especially with the marriage really went quite rocky. And so I go home to visit my mom and dad because my mom is my rock. And we, have some conversations, and mom, one of them just really looked at me and said, Karen, do you not remember what you said to me in the car ride home after that 6-week appointment with the doctor who took out your appendix and that tube? No, I had no idea. So my mom, she's quite funny, is now deceased, but she said to me in her best imitation of at the time, a 13-year-old Karen, no one, not even him, is going to tell me I can't have my 2 babies, a boy first and a girl second, just like you, Mummy. And I just broke down into tears, and it's like, you're right. I forgot. It just all came flooding back, that rush of desire as a little girl. I'm going to have 2 babies. I'm going to have a boy first and a girl second, just like my mom. And that was great. That was it. I didn't need any more. I mean, we had lots of fun for the rest of the week and visited family and friends and things. But when I went back to my husband and to work, I said to him, we are going to stop all the science stuff and all the medical management of baby making. And we're just going to have fun. I spent more time going to the gym. I did a little bit more tweaking with my diet. I made sure I had more downtime, went to bed early. And we were having more fun because we were going out and seeing and spending time with friends, not rushing to get other things done because, well, when we're pregnant, it's going to be busier and all the other stuff to do. It's like, nah, whatever. And I was in timing cycles, having sex whenever we wanted to, not, honey, it's time to come home. I'm ovulating in an hour, or I just ovulated. We've got an hour window. There was none of the temperature charts, all this chaos. And when I got back from that trip visiting mom and dad, I was pregnant within 3 months.
Wow.
It was just that shift, that whole shift of mindset. And the second time, that was for the first one. For baby number 2, Jacob was 2 years old. And we decided, shouldn't we do number 2? Yes. Okay. So I stopped the pill. I was at work, kind of organizing and planning, and nice to have cycle controls or skip cycles. And so stopped the pill within 6 weeks. I missed that next period thinking, okay, well, that can happen. I know all the stuff with what goes on with that, but nope, sure enough, did the pregnancy test, positive. So baby number 2 was even quicker.
Wow.
It was just,
yeah. And that's kind of the feeling. Yeah. I like that you mentioned that, because there's so many emotions, and I've learned that from loved ones and friends that have gone through it as well. Is you do really feel like you're a lab rat almost when you're being probed and timed, and this is so stressful. And
yeah, my book should be out sometime in April, maybe the end of April, Pincushion to Pregnant, which about my story and talks about in more detail some of the things we're probably going to discuss today. So I'm really looking forward to that, because that's been a labor of love.
Yeah, and it's a book that needs to be out there, because it's really how it feels, and a lot of women don't talk about it, because you mentioned that too. You're kind of embarrassed. What's wrong with me? This is what I'm a woman. This is what I'm supposed to be doing from the core. That's what we're here for.
Yes.
And then it doesn't help with the family going, well, when are you going to have babies? Not knowing necessarily what you're going through, right?
I didn't have that, but I heard that from the mother-in-law, and more so with my husband's sister, who was married 3 years before us, who yet to have babies. And so she was in that mode. She was so ready for grandbabies. Well, if you're not going to give us grandbabies, how come you're not yet? And it's like, we're trying.
Yeah.
It's there's so much stress, and it's well-intentioned, but it's layers of stress. It's, as I described it, it's the peanut gallery, right? There's that external peanut gallery of, why aren't you having babies? You've been married so long, family, friends, just other people, co-workers. And then, there's the internal own peanut gallery where, it didn't happen this month. What am I doing wrong? What can I do different? Why? And then most women then see a coworker, somebody on the street at an event or organization that they attend, and that woman's pregnant, or even in the grocery store. And then there's that more guilt and shame, and then anger, this intense anger for a lot of women rise up. It's like, well, how come she gets to have a baby and I don't? And when it can be a total stranger, not even a family member, because you really want to feel the love for the family member and support, but there's just this sense of loss because it's not happening for me, and what's wrong with me? There's just almost like big flashing, what's wrong with me?
Yeah. And it just seems like that's where you'll see more baby bumps too, because you're so focused on the baby that you notice the baby bumps a lot more. Yeah. Oh, now you did mention you were in OB-GYN at the time you were in practice, and you moved away from that to actually start and your coaching. And can you explain to me when did it become evident for you that you needed to move away from the medical probing stuff and go into a more human approach to fertility?
Yeah. Well, my obstetrics gynae practice was a full range. So, young girls with, period problems, newborns with labile agglutination, doing everything to deliveries day and night, because babies come when they want, and the menopause things. So surgeries, office practice, the whole 9 yards, and always had that heart-centered practice. Any woman in my office was treated like my best friend, like my mother. I never had sisters, but I wanted to be treated well, so I treated everybody well. They got their time. I might have missed lunch or had to grab the 1 hour book lunch, often was 5 minutes, often 5 minutes at the start of the next patient. So that was always my practice, but it was life and soul sucking to the point where I was not seeing many of my colleagues having the same kind of energy. I'd walk into my hospital and greet people, and staff physicians particularly, half the time recognize the voice, wouldn't look up, look down, but not nod, smile, no hellos. I was really feeling there's just something that doesn't suit me. And I actually noticed it all through medical training, and started reattending church a little bit more. I do have a spiritual Catholic background. I don't impose those beliefs, but if you believe in God or the universe or quantum physics or source energy, however that, for me, God is the grand overall designer. So there's some sort of something that is a higher power, or you label that I was, inquiring with, like, what else is there? There's just not something right. I will use the analogy of the square peg in the round hole, not the round peg in the square hole where it just moves around and it's all over the place. I felt like as a square peg, I had to be whittling away pieces of me to fit the medical mold. And when I got so busy, because it was great, it was fantastic, I just felt like I just lost such a part of me, and I got sick. I started having back pain that for 6 months, my 10-year-old, gratefully, had to help me dress. I couldn't bend over, reach down enough to hook on my underwear. I'll be honest. The back, I couldn't move very well. Seated, step, stand, that could work, but not forward bending or rotation. That was 6 months. And then I started doing some more natural things for me. So I was always doing a bit of yoga, working out, watching the diet, but with hours, the chaos, the coffee, sometimes just grabbing whatever on the fly to eat. Many a nurse, stuck some toast in front of me. Karen, you look so pale. It's 4 a.m. When did you eat last? 5 o'clock last night. Like, I've been going since, right? So I got so sick. The pain got better, but then I got so sick. And what really made the difference for me is before I actually stopped my practice, I went on a 10-day silent meditation retreat. They're called Vipassanas. It's based on the Buddhist style of meditating, fully instructed, but it is 10 days of silence. And I signed up with this because one of my nurse friends had recommended it. And she was one of the most amazing delivery nurses, never any children herself, but when that woman just could make anything happen in the delivery suite. And when she recommended this, I kind of didn't ignore it for about 1.5 years, but I was just getting so sick. She goes, Karen, one night when I was on call, I finished delivery, before you go home at kind of 4 a.m., we're booking this, fill in the questionnaire. She fed me. No, she goes, what would your answer be to this? Because I was trying to, so filled in the questionnaire, attended this Vipassana, and there was a little bit of a wait. But when we went to the retreat, on day 6, I noticed midday, I had no pain, 0 pain.
Wow.
I could move like I've never moved in years. It was fantastic. And everything was just feeling lighter and lovelier. And on the drive back, it was about 4 hours drive away from where I was working in Ottawa. And on the drive back, my stomach started feeling weird. We had to pull over 1.5 hours from home. I was sick as a dog. The next morning, I was stiff. The morning after that, back pain was back to about 50% of what it was before I was on the retreat, the silent meditation retreat. And in that moment, I realized the impact that stress was having on my life. And so I looked at what I could or couldn't do, what, would be the best thing to or not to do. And kind of snowballed with my hypothyroidism, totally, upping the dose to be manageable after I returned, that I just decided this is crazy. I'm also not sleeping. It was out of control. So
Yeah.
I took a step back, and 6 weeks after I stopped practice, I got sicker because I was allowing my body to actually rest. And so even though my family doctor, who worked at the hospital that I was working, strongly encouraged, Karen, you just need to get back to work. You just need to jump back up on the horse. Like, you've had a bit of a break. It's been 5 months, because I was in for an appointment thinking she said she was going to fill in some long-term disability, because I was exhausted. I was spending 10 hours to 12 hours with a 2-hour prep for a sleep routine and getting 5 hours of broken sleep over the course of 2 hours of prep and 10 hours of up and down, up and down. I said, back to work. You think I'll be fit to look after stress, an emergency C-section? Anything? No. So when I realized that I wasn't being looked after by allopathic medicine, I sought out alternatives. I also switched family doctors so I could get some of the other referrals that I wanted and not always be told, when you going back to work, because when I had my next appointment with her, I felt the stress. That morning waking up, it's like, I have to go see her. My body was humming in a negative way. It was vibrating at a lower level, but I could almost start to feel my heart go, Karen, you can remember what that feels like. Like, it's still.
Yeah.
And so it was to the point where my cell phone, which I had used as my paging system, because there were no dead zones in comparison to my pager, because it was on home call. I can tell you, I still, to this date, that last day of work was August 2014, and it took me 6 years to recover where I could actually get 6.5 hours straight sleep.
Yeah. And that's
crazy. It's crazy.
It is. And it's common the more I talk to people, because I've gone through the same, where a job where I would catch myself kind of say, okay, I need to turn into a robot now. And that just wears away at you. And it does take long to recover. And I like that you mentioned the fact that it gets worse when you do start resting and taking care of yourself, because it's like your body's shedding this. It's like there's buildup of like, something should be happening right now. Why is nothing happening right now? And then you just get more anxious about it. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it also reminds you that, wow, like, you finally took time. Now see how much you need to work.
Exactly.
Or not work, right? Like, work on the action steps, not laboriously, but just
That's
the
right.
awareness of the intensity to the level at which this is detrimental to your body. And, so like, to this day, it's not so bad now, but still, in 2-3 years ago, I don't put my phone is always on vibrate or off. The ringer is rarely on unless I'm expecting a call, because I will flinch. I have post-traumatic stress-like disorder from the cell phone, from the paging system, from the on-call, the always being available. I'm such a light sleeper. That is a contrast from, while I was in training and working, it was so the case. But before that, I was always, a great dead to the world sleeper, and that hasn't returned. And so I'm so grateful, though, that with all of the natural things that I've done, after being maxed out on thyroid pills, trying different pills, I am off all thyroid medication. Same with the adrenal. The holistic people wanted me on some ashwagandha and a few other herbal and other concoctions, which were great. But then I got to the point where 1.5 years ago, I started having hot flashes, but long into the menopause, about 3 years before that, and sweating profusely, and just like, I need to stop this because I think my adrenals have kicked back in. So I do. The only thing that has not come back full is the sleep. It's still light, easily disturbed. But I think there's something intending more greatness, because for the last 6 months or more, I'm awake at 4:30 in the morning, the time the Vipassana's wake you up for your first morning. So I
Right.
it's a sign. It's Karen, COVID's over. It's time to get back into some of these, get into one more of these retreats, re-energize yourself with the healing of that vibration. And when I was 6 months after being off sick, the doctors looking at everything had me on antidepressants, 2 antidepressants, and then the cocktail to help me sleep, because, well, you're more than burnt out if you feel you can't go back to work. Everybody told me I was depressed. I was depressed. I think if I had seen somebody, maybe a subspecialist, I might have been labeled with a post-traumatic stress, which doesn't matter what the label was. I did the routines. I got a bit better, so I could do more of the energy things, the mindfulness things. So not necessarily, and I did do some Reiki training. It doesn't have to be if you feel that's more woo-woo, but quantum physics, what I love about that, explains energy and how vibration and everything in medicine works, and how science, it's science-based. It's not psychology, it's not spirituality, it's not woo-woo, it is science. And just because you can't see the vibration of your body, which is 3/4 water, but why am I not like melting into the floor? Because you don't understand it and you can't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. Like, I love my kids, but you can't see the love. You see the result of the love when I give them a hug, but I can feel the vibration. It's like wind. You can't see wind unless you see the trees moving. But if you don't have trees and sand and leaves or snow or anything, and it's windy, you wouldn't know it's windy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. You mentioned negative, like how you fall into that negative vibration. How would you say that those negative emotions, how from your experience, how do they affect women and when they're trying to conceive? If they're struggling,
we don't realize the impact of that, and we do not have yet tests and things to determine that. But what we do know from other body parts and other organ systems is, and we are designed to be aware of danger. So we're kind of primed to be fire, no food is, I'm going to be attacked, right? Like that basic lizard brain, that monkey mind stuff that distracts you is our preset program. And then most of our thoughts are actually repetitive and negative. So when you get one, and if you get it early, then you have so many years to keep replaying that tape player of that negative emotion and program. So that if you've heard things when you were younger about someone who has struggled to have babies, as it's you yourself, if you've tried for a few months and it's, 6 months of that, if you keep repeating to yourself, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? There must be something wrong with me. Well, that becomes that's your mantra, that's your mantle. And when we have this negative stress, that activates that adrenal gland. We're kind of into this freeze, fight, or flight. That mode of our nervous system is even ramped up more, which to the point it was blunted in me and shut me down completely. It will first shut down the non-vital organs. So your vital organs. So if a saber-toothed tiger or something else strenuous, someone's got a gun pointed to you, your blood and all your nervous system is primed for running away, hiding if that is immediately important. So, but your heart, lungs, and your muscles, go, 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 go. You're not going to drop, squat, and have a pee or a poo. And you're not going to procreate. You're just not going to, go into the corner and procreate, right? So those non-vital organs get turned off. So, you're going to then eventually go to the bathroom because, that stress goes away, or you're going to, you pee your pants and then, but, it's going to accumulate again, and you're going to eat, and you're not going to initiate the moment, feel hungry, but you will a few hours later. But the reproductive system, when you've seen from doing surgeries, you don't have to have seen it, but I've seen it. the fimbriae on the end of the tube. So if my arm is the fallopian tube and the ends of my fingers are the fimbriae to catch the egg, they are so delicate looking. You know, we are tough as nails and resilient, although, you know, they're beautiful and delicate, and they're so petite looking. I mean, really, for women who describe all this pain they're having, if they really saw how big their uterus is, it's not that big when it's not pregnant or never been pregnant. It
Right.
has a great impact to, you don't ovulate, the hair in your tubes, because there's little hairs that move the eggs down and move the sperm up. You know, those swimmers can only swim for so long. They need help from, you know, from, you know, the fallopian tube cilia. And it's, that stuff just doesn't work. It's shut program not to work because you're not safe to do that.
Mhm. And that makes sense. It's to the core. It's primary. It's just, I'm not, like you said, it's not time to procreate right now if you're in danger. And this is your mantra, like you said, you're constantly telling yourself that there's something wrong, something is danger. Your brain can't tell the difference. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, if I
Yeah.
said to you, because your brain, the universe, whatever, doesn't interpret the negative, the not piece. So if I said, do not, absolutely do not think of an elephant, what picture just entered your mind?
The elephant. Yeah.
And there's so much science to support that, but it's not talked about in that way. And God bless people. People are just not aware and awake to some of this stuff. And if they are, it's not been phrased in a way that it just makes sense that, yeah, it's just not the time, you know,
Mhm.
for babies.
Yeah. And it takes time to reprogram yourself when you've been in the negative for so long. It does take time. So getting that help
Absolutely.
is can be necessary, or you get better results because you get somebody behind you saying it's okay. You know, let's keep going.
35 to 50 trillion cells who eavesdrop subconsciously and take in, you know, a million bits of information every, you know, second, but your regular senses take in a fraction of that, like a fraction of that. And so, and it doesn't forget. Your subconscious does not forget. And so your cells are vibrating at those levels. And if you think about it, people are sort of aware, you know, yeah, my platelets live only for 7 days. More familiar, red blood cells only live for 120 days. You know, skin cells slough off. All of the cells in your body, some are quicker, 7, 10, 120 days. Others are, you know, a few years. So over the course of, I believe it is somewhere about 7 years, you are actually a whole new being of cells.
Mhm. Yeah.
However, if the previous cell, but when it was dividing, was still at that vibration of fear, worry, doubt, shame, guilt, those low energies, those shut you down energies, it reproduces the same low vibration. So it takes a while to get this out of your system.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Now you have amazing programs to help women. I love that your site is called the Baby Making Genius. I love it.
Yeah.
You have this program that you call Conceive with Karen. Can you tell us a little bit of your approach and what women can expect from this program?
Well, Conceive with Karen is all about reconnecting that mind with your body so you can do what you would love to do, and that's have your baby.
Mm.
I really, like, my mission is that any woman and every woman who desires to have a baby, I don't care your race, your background, whatever condition you think you've got, you've been told, every woman who desires to have a baby does. Because we lose our power and we don't really intend to say, here, I'm going to give it to you, Dr. So-and-so. But, you know, women, we let that go to learned people who have lots of information, but they do not know you. They do not know the heart and soul of you. They know the anatomy heart, you head, fingers, knees and toes, eyes, ears, like they know the parts of you. And they will reference, because our intake history and physical, standard medical forms, want to know all about you, not just your age, your weight, your height, your blood pressure. We do want to know your past surgeries, your past medical conditions, that of your family, allergies, medications, all those kinds of things. But on there is, your stress. But, who asks you on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your work stress like? What's your financial stress like? What's your relationship stress level like with your partner, with your family, your friends, your coworkers? What, you go onto the Government of Canada website for fertility, infertility, and things to help. There's lots of stuff, and they talk about alternatives and things, and possibly look at reducing your stress. And sometimes you can consider, yoga, exercise, and a few mindfulness training techniques. That's at the bottom. Hello.
Yeah.
So I help people become more aware of, you have that power, and we're going to awaken it. We're going to bring that to the forefront in this program. And I take my ladies by the hand, and I find out, usually know what their number one goal is, something about having a baby, but I also want to know what your number one challenge is. I want to know what the next few challenges are, because I need to know what you're thinking. I want to know what your relationship is like with your partner, not just how many times you're having sex and when is it time with your cycle. It's amazing, because women don't share. Women think we're alone in these problems, because when women came to my medical practice with, oh, you're here with the period problem. Well, that doesn't sound that bad when we got the details. I'm thinking in my head, and I would ask, is there anything else going on? I would do my review of systems. Well, okay, so depending on how the conversation has gone today, I might just say, spit it out. Or I would say, okay, so do you have any problems with, peeing with intercourse, and discomfort with intercourse? Like I would have a list of 10 things specifically to the girly stuff. And then some women would just break down. Yes. Yeah. I just feel this lump and it hurts. And I don't know how to tell them that. And it wasn't the periods that she came in for, because I said, well, we can start doing some of these. Really? The periods were just an excuse. So my GP would send me a referral to you.
Yeah.
So women are not talking about it. Some are, but the majority are not. And because they're not sure, they don't know. When you get into the complaining mode, it's great to vent. However, venting alone is only repeating the problem, repeating the problem, repeating the problem. So you're still stuck in the problem. So when your mindset is still working with the problem and micromanaging your problem and knowing all about your own LH levels and this follicle size and this blood work and this timing and this new drug and this is what's coming up. When you are so focused on the problem, I mean, really, if I asked you, when I asked these ladies, do you want to have amazing, super high LH surges, or do you want to have a baby? Oh yeah, like I would just rather have a baby. Well, visualize a baby, because when you're thinking about the LH surges and the right follicle sizes and the timing of your injections or the taking of this and doing the whatever, micromanaging at that one spot, and you're not really, and then you're vibrating again at that problem level. If you can't even get into, well, it's working me through to the solution. Well, let's just think about, what would you love? I have an easiest question for you. The power question that I ask my clients is, what would you love? I'd love to have a baby. What does that look like? Well, then they don't want to visualize it, because what's important is seeing it every day. Because if 75 to 85% of your thoughts are negative and 85 to 90% are recurring, you're thinking all the bad stuff, and we need to fill up the good stuff. It's like if you had mud in a cup, it's hard to do in the Zoom, but if you had a little bit of mud in the cup and you want to get rid of the mud, you can spend time scraping it and doing whatever. But if you pour in with a jug water, you get a big chunk of it out and only little particles left are floating around, right? So we just want to work with that water, that goodness, that, light and love from the universe. Besides being well hydrated, most women are not. Like there are some of, I also, part of my program is the body basics. Yes. Do you drink enough water? Because your organ, we're 3/4 water. So we think we have to have, how much water. And it's all different. There is the uniqueness to people with that. But, your brain is 90% water. So if you're dehydrated, you're not even thinking straight. For one,
Yeah.
all that's going on. So we want to have the whole reproductive system working well. We want your breathing to work well. Breath, for me, breath is the number one. Breath is absolutely number one, because without your breath, you have no life.
That's true.
And the quality of your breathing will determine and dictate the quality of your life. The quality of your life, if you take good breaths and regular, consistently. Yes, we hold our breath, and there's techniques of, I would call it retain your breath, because you don't want to hold on to it like a tense grip. There's energy with that holding on that's negative and derogatory from your vibration. But if you retain breath and then let it go, like you don't worry about taking the next breath. So why do you worry about, your next period can come and go and you didn't get pregnant? Like let it go, like you let go of your breath. So I go through a bunch of breathing techniques to find which one will suit with women. We work with a few other body basics with the water and diet, as well as movement and non-movement. Getting some of these ladies just to lie on the floor on their belly so they can feel grounded. Now, even better if you can do it on the earth, outside on the grass, on the beach, to really make a difference. And, in our climate in Canada, our climate have the cold, you're not going to lie on the ground in January, February, March, probably November, December, especially naked or half naked or barefoot. However, hug a tree, even with your clothes on, hug a tree, but have that cheek exposed and, really love that tree to get that grounding down, because then you'll notice how the rise and fall of the chest actually happens, or in the belly. Can you maneuver your body so that with the breasts lying there, the belly, the pubic bone, how much can make in contact, and just let go. Let go. Because if you don't let go, you can't receive. It's a law of circulation. You have to and let go to receive.
Yeah, that's good. So true. Now, having lived it, you lived it yourself, and with all these women that you're working with, what would you say? This is where I like to dig a little deeper and say, what do families and loved ones need to know what that woman is actually going through? As we kind of, like you said, we awkwardly will say, oh, well, it'll come, just relax. And then the minute you hear relax, you're stressing out even more. They all have their little advice on what they've heard. But should loved ones and friends and family really know about how this woman that is not going to tell you what she's going through, but something that could help them and how they approach the subject when they need to?
Go back to one of the basics as well, which is, I see that there's 4 basic needs: breath, water, food and love. Are, you can live a long time with no food if you have good breath and water and love. So you just need to tell them I love you and treat them with love and kindness. Just love
Wow.
on, just love on them.
It's that simple.
Love on them. Simple. It's simple.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. That's a beautiful answer. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
It's really that simple.
Yeah, it really is that simple. That's all it is. That's what babies come from, love, So yeah.
Yes, because sex is supposed to be fun. So, it's not called making love, for it's love on each other. Totally love on each other.
Yeah, I love that.
And just go, how can, what can I do? What can I do to, show my daughter, show my sister, show my friend that I love them? And maybe it's as simple of send them in a bunch of heart emojis every day for a week, just for them to wake up and see. Oh, it doesn't have to be anything extraordinary, because it will be extraordinary in its simplicity. We have complicated life. We have complicated the world. There's lots of complexities if you want to dive into it. However, when you go to the basics and start working with those basics, it just almost falls into your lap.
Yeah.
Now, it's not that there's not action steps to take to get there. Simple does not mean easy for people. Simple, it's straightforward, everybody, whatever your race, age, education, and level of how they think and feel, kids love on so easily, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's very simple, and just but you may need, because of where you've been, what other experiences you have, other things that are going on in your mind and body, you may need to do reminders, have things to make that actionable so that it is successful for you. And this is where I have a bunch of power tools. I help people with a variety of different system things so that they can actually implement this stuff with ease. And I would describe it as, because some women will come in and say, and I've seen them, on Facebook and what have you, oh, well, this is the herb of the year, like, to get me pregnant. This is the drink. Like, right. If I did kombucha for so long, like, and it's like, but if you could be doing everything of all that stuff and still not get pregnant, because you're loving on your body, but are you loving with your mind?
Exactly.
So if you're angry with your partner about something, if you really resent your work, if you are worried about your finances all the time, if you live next door to that mother-in-law and she's mother-in-law from hell, whatever is going on, so you can do all the right stuff with the body, and it's not working. Because I've had ladies come in, and I had one lady in my practice actually say to me, because it was a small town that I was working in, and it's like, how did she get pregnant? I go, excuse me? Because I was shocked. How did she get pregnant? Because she was on social assistance. She's a smoker. She was underweight. Like, it's just not right or fair. And I go, no. Your attitude. Let's start with ABC, not just the basics. A, your attitude. B, what do you believe? C, how do you see your challenges? D, do you really desire this, or is it something that's, so like I have, help people with a variety of different ways to find how they can do that. Yeah. Working with emotions and energy, working with their fear. Like, I go through the alphabet. Like when I was doing a delivery, there was a mnemonic alphabetically for putting on forceps or vacuum. So you go through all the things there, and it's the same thing. Where are you on your, it's A to H. Yeah. So, I was going through the letters, F is where your fear is. Where are you feeling failure? How can you make that a friend? Mm-hmm. Forgiveness, gratitude. And H, what's your happiness factor? What do you mean? Well, what's your happiness level? If stress is a factor that can, affect your blood pressure, it can kill you, heart attacks, all sorts of things, make all sorts of illnesses worse. Your happiness factor can raise you up. People have written books on it. I'm really pleased with Dr. Lisa Rankin, an obstetrician out of California, has the book Mind Over Medicine. And if you want randomized control trial evidence, meta-analysis, and all that data, if that's what you need as a person to understand some of this stuff, she talks about it with heart disease, diabetes, cancers, strokes, not so much specifically within OB-GYN with a lot of examples, but there's so much data on everything else. Yeah. Why would the reproductive system be different? It's part of you. You are not all these different boxes. You are a community of cells, 35 trillion, 50 trillion, whatever, the stats floating around, subdivided into, like, every one of your cells ingests, does energy, reproduces, divide and make another 2 cells. It breathes, it respires, it gets out excretory stuff. So it does the digestion. Like every one of your 35 trillion cells does everything your whole body does. So you want to treat everything well. If you want to treat your whole body well, why would you treat everybody else's 35 trillion cells well? Love on people.
Yeah, just love on them. I love it. What kind of what advice do you wish you would have had sooner in your life, just to make your life easier? Do you have any wisdom or advice looking back?
Have fun.
Yes.
Have more fun. When you are in that play, happy, fun mode, the world is fantastic. Don't let that go out and play in the puddle still. When I did my Camino de Santiago de Compostela in 2016 as part of my healing journey, I walked 45 days across northern Spain. It was fantastic. Was into 200 different churches, so there was also some great vibrations there. But I saw people walking ahead of me. I was following for a couple of days these 4 guys from the States. They were always, when I would catch up and pass, and depending on what time of day we meet up with them again, they were young. They're in their 20s. They were in college. I don't know what university they were in, but they were always listening to podcasts. They were engineers. I could tell by the podcasts that going on. Whatever, when I caught up and go by, but I would watch these guys when I was behind them. They would avoid the puddles and they would slow down and step where they were walking. And one day I came up behind them and they were sort of slowing down, trying to decide what path they would take through this watery, where there was some dry patches, or would they go way around because there was some flooding because of the time of year.
Right.
On this particular day. And I said, "Morning, boys." And they go, "Hello." And I just straight path. No, my feet get wet. That's why you buy waterproof, hiking boots. Now, after, 20 or 25 or 30 or 35 kilometers each day, would you get wet socks and they have to dry it overnight? Probably. But, it's like you can hold yourself back, waffle, decide, do, and go. Walk the path. Just get to where you need to go. Don't get distracted by sometimes shiny objects, but all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So have fun and just look at where you want to go and do it. Take action.
I love it. I love it. I could talk to you all day, but we're gonna wrap it up a little bit. Is there anything new going on? What have you got going on right now that's coming up or that you're working on right now? You mentioned your book, but is there anything else as well?
Yeah, just finishing the book. And I've moved into starting my next phase of what I'm doing, and that is cracking the childbirth code.
Yes.
So the women, once they've gotten and they're pregnant, to have that grace and ease at delivery, because you hear all this stuff and the horror stories, and a lot of women spend 2 to 10 months, 2 to 10 years or longer surviving the trauma of their delivery, and their self-inflicted, "Oh, well, I couldn't do that," and "Oh, this happened," and "Oh, I couldn't breastfeed," this, that, and the other, and helping them with that. It's a lot of the similar principles, a little bit of a different approach, because they're at a different phase, a shorter program, because most people come in, and they start looking at the end of their, near the end of their pregnancy. Okay, well, now I got to get ready for delivery. Well, you just shot yourself in the foot. It's 40 weeks for a reason, and not just to grow. That's that go time for you to start looking at preparing, because you wouldn't, even if you run and do 10Ks, you wouldn't wait 4 weeks before a marathon to train for a marathon, right? Train for 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah. And that's another misconception, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. And women do once they go through it. Men definitely don't get it. You're struggling to get the baby, but then the baby has to come out. And your body is changing for those 40 weeks, and for a reason, like you say. And that's something that they don't prepare women. They prepare you for conception. They prepare you for, afterwards when the baby's out, but for that time period where you need to prepare. So that's amazing. When I saw your program, they're cracking the childbirth code. I thought that was amazing because there's nobody. I can't say nobody because that's an absolute, but you don't see that. Okay, now we got you pregnant. Let's get you ready for childbirth, and then let's get you ready for caring for that baby.
To let you know, like those prenatal education classes are great. They do work with the breath, which is the number one thing. I'm not sure how, I remember hearing about that, and then when I attended my prenatal classes myself to see, like I was in obstetrics and gynecology, what else are they going to teach me? Like, it was probably going to be something clean, and it's like, yeah, no, it was only for my husband. But I had other education prior, and in the process of taking. However, looking back now, it's like, really, really, do I need to know how my car engine works? How the fabric and upholstery was put together, how many coils are in my seats of my car to drive my car? It doesn't help me drive my car better. It won't help me in an accident or avoid accidents by knowing those kinds of things. So half the stuff that they teach you in prenatal education classes doesn't serve you.
That's right. It's good to know, but it's not going to prepare you for what you're about to go through. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But you really are going to condense and only give yourself 4 to 6 weeks to prepare. Let's get you doing the stuff that's going to make the difference and get you into and see what you not just need to know and do it at the time of the delivery. There's the preparation piece. Like runners don't run a 10K, then all of a sudden decide and then do the half marathon or full marathon. They run multiple times a week, right? Like you have to do stuff daily to prepare. So that, I've just started with that, with some live classes. That's going to move to being online, and then an online program with that as well, which can be a DIY if that's going to serve you better, or the group classes with other energy work. And the big piece that I do is that whatever you're thinking, other techniques and tools to help you minimize the number of those negative thoughts and ramp up the tools to help you have more of that positive energy, that positive vibe, feel like, loving on yourself. Like, are you in love with yourself? Like if you're not in love and love yourself, this doesn't work as well. So helping you get there with that.
That's amazing. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, that's going to be great. I ask this question at the end of every episode for people, just because it's a question that I just love asking. And that's what do you want to be when you grow up?
What do I want to be when I grow up?
Yes.
I want to be gosh, there's so many things, but the one that just really jumps to my mind is I want to sit and have tea parties with all my stuffies. I want to be the little princess that has tea parties with her stuffies every week. Because that kid stuff and fun stuff like that. I also love playing cards and doing all sorts of things and going hikes and whatever, but there's nothing better than imagination, man. And having conversations with my different stuffies. And I still have 3 or 4. Mostly the ones that kids have that are a little bit ratty. One's got, lost its head. One had the hair dryer pressed to his chest because my son was a little bit in, one of those spirited boys.
Phases.
That stuffy was my daughter's. So actually, I probably have 6 that I have hung on to. 2 of Jacob's, 4 of my daughter's. And I would just love to grow up so that I could have a weekly tea party.
I love it.
Dress up with the hats and stuff, because they do love hats too. Put on little things, dress them all up, and just have these conversations. It might be hot cocoa, because they do like hot cocoa too.
That's even better. Yeah. Why not? I love it, because it's a question we ask children all the time, and of course they kind of, it tapers through, but we're constantly growing, and I love when people play along and they do actually answer, and most of the time it reverts to going back to being a child, which is I absolutely love. So that's wonderful. Yes, hot cocoa parties with our stuffies. That's the way to do it. Yes. Now, how can people follow you, reach you if they want to work with you, if they want to know more about your programs? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
I have not, even though grown up with some of this technology, the mastery of the technology is not my forte. So I do have a website that has an email link if you wanted to send me something. I have a Facebook page, which I'm not sure how we put that in there, or if you put it on some sort of bottom of the promo or link or what have you, but I am on Facebook. I've got a personal page, I've got a business page, my group pages, I've got some that people can join because they do have challenges for the reproductive reset. I will be doing stuff coming up as well with, the 5 steps to cracking the childbirth code. So if they want to just get a feel of what things are like, if there's not an upcoming workshop or the web masterclass is not on, so you get a feel for those. I'm usually running those once a month. To give people some information, and then from there there's the QR codes then to book with me, get 15 minutes and let's see if there's something that's really warrants more follow-up and that we can dive deep in a full hour. But I don't offer the 1 hour from the start, because sometimes in that first conversation, people realize that, you're right, like my relationship with my husband really sucks, because I've had clients and patients who were not with the right partner and were having fertility challenges. When they found the right partner and made that, they didn't have any challenges having babies. None. Surprised them. So you can find out a lot of information in 15 minutes, and everybody gets a free 15-minute phone call.
That's awesome. And I'll put out I'll put that information in the description and in the comments of wherever this will be streaming. So they'll be able to contact.
Yeah. And I have a page, so they can also find me on LinkedIn, Karen Stillman. You'll see the banner. There's, talking about your limiting thoughts and, can be holding you back from having your babies.
That's right. Yes. Thank you so much, Karen, for joining me. I always enjoy talking with you. I love your energy, and I'm hoping this will reach out to people who need to hear that message that, it's totally normal what they're going through. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Danielle. I always love speaking with you as well. Thank you.
It's good. And for everybody watching, don't forget again to like, follow, and subscribe to the channel that you're listening or watching from. And don't forget to follow Dr. Karen Stillman as well. Make sure you look at the description so you'll know exactly where to find her. And until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll talk soon.